Welcome back to the program. I am joined by Chad Causey. He's the Executive Director of the Arkansas Aerospace and Defense Alliance, among many other things. Good to see you, my friend.
Yes, sir, Roby. Always good to be with you.
You doing well?
I am doing well.
Good. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Your trade association's been a little busy lately with some trade deals.
We have.
So it has kept you guys busy. First of all, before we get into any of that, who do you represent with AADA?
AADA, the Arkansas Aerospace and Defense Alliance, is a group of roughly 50 Arkansas aerospace and defense companies that range from Dassault Falcon Jet and Lockheed Martin and General Dynamics down in Camden to other aerospace and defense manufacturers, and also includes maintenance, repair, and overhaul stations, fixed-based operators on airports, and includes our two major airports in the state.
It's a big industry in Arkansas that I do think sometimes, no pun intended, flies a little under the radar, you know? I mean, it really, export-wise, it is one of the biggest export industries in Arkansas.
Absolutely. Aerospace goods are the #1 export to the world from Arkansas. We have over 200 companies that are aerospace and defense companies located in the state, employing well north of 10,000 Arkansans. So it has a big impact for the state of Arkansas.
We have seen some trade numbers really shift around in Arkansas, particularly in the defense sector. The U.S. has sold a lot of defense weapons to the Middle East, particularly Saudi Arabia, and that has really lifted a lot of those exports in terms of where they kind of rank on the list there. Do you foresee more of that happening in the future, or do you think this was kind of a one-time, two-time injection and it may back off a little bit?
No, I think generally most of the forecasts show a continued investment in national security around the world and here at home. And we have a strong defense cluster that's located here around Camden. And almost to a T, pretty much every company down there has seen recent growth and expansion through DoD contracts. The world is a dangerous place today, and for the foreseeable future it will remain to be in places like North Korea, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. So I think we'll see for several years to come more investment in defense. And Congress has, over the last 2 or 3 years with appropriations bills, has echoed that need to increase defense spending, and so that I think will continue.
It's in the pipeline. Let's talk about two big trade deals. I want to begin with the Phase 1 China trade deal. It's Phase 1. I don't know what Phase 2 holds in store. What did Phase 1 kind of do from your perspective, and what are the potential ramifications for your industries? Sure.
Phase 1 trade deal with China is a good thing for Arkansas aerospace companies. The rough high-level numbers are China has agreed to spend an additional $200 billion over their 2017 baseline, which was about $180 billion. So they're going to buy $200 billion in additional U.S. goods over the next 2 years. One of the specific categories set aside for those purchases is aircraft, as well as electrical machinery and industrial machinery, both of which have individual specific codes that pertain to aerospace products. So that number will be about $80 billion over the next 2 years. I think what that means is that Boeing will probably be selling additional aircraft to China. We have multiple Boeing suppliers here in the state, but it also means that we're going to see more manufacturing overall in the pipeline. With that increased spending, that's going to free up more opportunity to have further investment with Arkansas companies supplying those that are selling that aircraft into China.
Any idea what Phase 2 may include? Do we have any kind of hint as to what that may be?
I think there's different theories on it. I mean, the short answer is no, we don't know. I think a lot of that will depend on how Phase 1 goes. What we committed to do as the United States is reduce tariffs on about $120, $130 billion worth of tariffs from 15% to 7.5%. We still have an additional roughly $250 billion, I believe, of tariffs of 25% that will remain in effect. And then that last salvo, so to speak, that we sent in the trade war was about 120, 130 billion. Those have been suspended indefinitely. What China has done is agreed to purchase more U.S. goods, including aerospace, aircraft, and also agriculture products. They've also agreed to do some things in the financial sector as well, among others. Phase 2 could be further reductions in those tariff numbers, further commitments from China on currency and other issues that matter to U.S. trade. But I think a lot of that will depend on how Phase 1 is implemented. One example of a question is that in terms of aircraft sales, if you'll remember a couple of years ago when the president was in China, he secured an agreement from China to purchase 300 Boeing aircraft. When the trade war really got going, those purchases were suspended, and in the meantime, China agreed to purchase 300 Airbus aircraft. What some may theorize in this early Phase 1 purchasing would be that China will let go of those withheld purchases that have already been agreed to. But irregardless of whether it's those purchases that move forward or there are new purchases on top of those, it's still beneficial to Arkansas aerospace companies because they're going to be selling components and parts to Boeing and other manufacturers who are going to build those aircraft to sell to China.
Let's talk about the USMCA, the US-Mexico-Canada agreement, the new NAFTA. Again, we were dealing with tariffs in this situation too, putting the squeeze. Canada and Mexico are two biggest trading partners in Arkansas. So even though I mentioned Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, those sales have really moved them up on the list. I think they're like number 5 maybe in terms of state exports. Canada and Mexico still number 1.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What will this new agreement mean to some of your manufacturers in the alliance?
Well, Canada and Mexico have significant aerospace sectors. Mexico is relatively new. It's growing. It's in an area just north of Mexico City. I've actually been there, and it looks a lot like places in the United States.
Is it where the ASU campus is?
It
in
is.
That region?
The Arkansas State University has a 4-year degree campus in Querétaro, Mexico, just north of Mexico City. But they have UTC Aerospace is located there. Honeywell, General Electric, Safran is there. They employ thousands of people. Canada, Bombardier, the list goes on there. This USMCA trade agreement, the new NAFTA 2.0, it really reinforces the commitment between the three countries to keep tariffs, either reduce tariffs on manufactured goods crossing those borders or eliminate them entirely, and make it a commitment to not have any in the future. That's a good thing for Arkansas Aerospace, for U.S. Aerospace too. That means that Arkansas companies can supply companies in Mexico who are OEMs, original equipment manufacturers that want to purchase components from Arkansas suppliers, or Canada companies doing the same thing.
The tariffs themselves, I mean, when I look at the overall export numbers and we see some things that have happened in the defense and aerospace sector, I mean, the industry is thriving and doing very well, at least from an Arkansas perspective. But were some of your manufacturers, were they feeling the squeeze from some of the tariff wars that were out there?
Well, I think everybody to a certain extent was feeling the squeeze of uncertainty. When there's a trade war, OEMs become more cautious about where goods are going, what those purchases will look like. It wasn't just in the aerospace industry, but it certainly was. When you see 300 Boeing aircraft that were planned to be completed and sold to China not enter the marketplace, and those sales did not go forward, that's going to have a ripple effect throughout the industry with some uncertainty at a minimum. So I think there's a certain level of growth and confidence that this Phase 1 deal will help move to whatever the next phase of that will be, that we're moving in the right path on trade negotiation with China. That also moves the needle on other trade priorities which the President has, including with the EU. So we could
just a little bit happening over there.
There could be some more opportunities there. If you're moving the ball forward, it creates the potential for pitfalls, but it also creates a great potential for benefit for Arkansas manufacturers, and it's a good thing to see the ball moving in the right direction.
All right, he's Chad Causey of the Arkansas Aerospace and Defense Alliance. Good to see you.
Always good to see you, Roby.
Thank you so much. We're back with more right after this.